Both friends lay for a time in silence. Yes, began Bazarov, man is a strange animal. When one gets a side view from a distance of the dumb life our fathers lead here, one thinks, what could be better? You eat and drink and know you are acting in the most righteous and sensible way. If not, you're devoured by the tedium of it. One wants to have dealings with people even if it's only to abuse them. One ought to arrange one's life so that every moment of it becomes significant, remarked Arkady thoughtfully. I dare say. The significant may be deceptive but sweet, though it's even quite possible to put up with the insignificant, but petty squabbles, that's a misery. Petty squabbles don't exist for the man who refuses to recognize them as such. What you have said is a commonplace turned upside down. What? What do you mean by that phrase? I'll explain. To say for instance that education is beneficial, that's a commonplace, but to say that education is harmful is a commonplace turned upside down. It sounds more stylish, but fundamentally it's one and the same thing. But where is the truth, on which side? Where? I answer you like an echo, where? You're in a melancholy mood today, Yevgeny. Really? The sun must have melted my brain and I ought not to have eaten so many raspberries either. In that case it wouldn't be a bad plan to doze a bit, remarked Arkady. Certainly. Only don't look at me, everyone has a stupid face when he's asleep. But isn't it all the same to you what people think of you? I don't quite know how to answer you. A real man ought not to worry about such things, a real man is not meant to be thought about, but is someone who must be either obeyed or hated. It's odd. I don't hate anyone, observed Arkady after a pause. And I hate so many. You're a tender-hearted, listless creature, how could you hate anyone? You're timid, you haven't much self-reliance. And you, interrupted Arkady, do you rely on yourself? Have you a high opinion of yourself? Bazarov paused. When I meet a man who can hold his own beside me, he said with slow deliberation, then I'll change my opinion of myself. Hatred. You said, for instance, today as we passed the cottage of our bailiff Philip, the one that's so neat and clean, well, you said, Russia will achieve perfection when the poorest peasant has a house like that, and every one of us ought to help to bring it about, And I felt such a hatred for this poorest peasant, this Philip or Sitter, for whom I have to be ready to sacrifice my skin and who won't even thank me for it. And why should he thank me? Well, suppose he lives in a clean house, while weeds grow out of me, so, what next? That's enough, Yevgeny. Listening to you today, one would be driven to agree with those who reproach us for absence of principles. You talk like your uncle. Principles don't exist in general, you haven't yet managed to understand even that much, but there are sensations. Everything depends on them. How is that? Well, take me for instance, I adopt a negative attitude by virtue of my sensations, I like to deny, my brain is made like that, and there's nothing more to it. Why does chemistry appeal to me? Why do you like apples? Also by virtue of our sensations. It's all the same thing. People will never penetrate deeper than that. Not everyone would tell you so, and another time I shouldn't tell you so myself. What, and is honesty also a sensation? I should think so. Yevgeny, began Arkady in a dejected tone. Well? What? That's not to your taste? Broke in Bazarov. No, brother. If you've made up your mind to mow down everything, don't spare your own legs. But we've philosophized enough. Nature heaps up the silence of sleep, said Pushkin. He never said anything of the kind, retorted Arkady. Well, if he didn't, he might have and ought to have said it as a poet. By the way, he must have served in the army. Pushkin was never in the army. Why, on every page of his one reads, "To arms! To arms! For Russia's honor!"